Hi, how's it going everyone? So these are the worst pets in Super Auto Pets in my opinion. After trying out the game, playing the game for so many rounds and so many hours, 100 over hours, a lot of wins. Basically these are the ones that I don't really like. I mean there's a tinge of biasness there and also some objectiveness here as well. So the first one that is the worst I feel is Boar. I think Boar at the start, people were raving about it. I think Northern Lion really liked it a lot, but over time he also didn't really like it that much. I think the main reason here is that it comes in at tier 6, which is way too late in the game. And it feels like it's supposed to be played like a carry unit. It is supposed to be the strongest unit or the second strongest unit in order for it to really leverage on its effect, right? Because you need it to be very tanky so that it can attack multiple times, and whenever it attacks, it gives itself like +2, +2, +4, +4, or +6. And this sounds very familiar, right? It seems very similar to Hippo. Hippo's effect is slightly more restrictive. It's definitely more restrictive than your Boar because it requires you to knock down your opponent's new unit to get that +2/+2 buff. But there really isn't much difference here, and especially when it comes to Boar, it's not a really good it's not a significant upgrade, considering that, I mean, now that it attacks every time it gets that buff, it's a guaranteed buff, right? Because you always attack, whereas Hippo is conditional. But having a +2/+2 effect, level 1, tier 6, it's too late in the game really. It's not effective at all, let's be honest here. And it still requires you to have an existing system or buffers to buff your Boar to a sizable stat range so that it can really leverage on the fact that it can attack multiple times. And that +2/+2 is not going to compensate for the 20-30 over damage that it suffers from, right? You can't really recuperate with +2/+2, it's not enough. So this, not that great. There's too many what ifs, there's too many hypotheticals, you require so many things to be in place for it to be working. So I will put this in the meme range, but overall this is kind of bad. I wouldn't choose this. Gorilla, I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think Gorilla is in the same range as Boar, but I think Gorilla is slightly better because yes, the coconut armor, which is impervious. So this can be actually useful in even without it being a carry unit, because it can be put at the end, can be used to destroy like weaker creatures. But overall Boar is just terrible because Boar doesn't have an armor at all. It just takes damage every time, and +2/+2 +4/+4 is not going to compensate enough for the amount of damage it takes. And then the second one is Swan. Swan used to be A tier, to be honest. It being like 3/3 stats and giving you additional 1 gold is a huge game changer because of its 3/3 stats is premium, you know, at that level, and it gives you an additional gold that can be used to roll for more units, to buy food items, but most of the time the additional gold is for rolling, right? Because that's how much it costs. But now that it's 1/3 after the nerf, I don't think it's that worth it anymore, because you're sacrificing a lot of stats, and this additional gold, right, is good to have, but it's not a must have because it's not a direct battle impact kind of effect. Skunks are good because it affects the game directly during battle. It allows you to win games, but this having an additional goal is not a guaranteed. It doesn't have a direct impact on winning new games. So the fact that it's 1/3, it really brings the value down by a lot. And having an extra goal, to me, doesn't matter that much. There's a lot of chances involved. Maybe you can argue that, oh, the extra goal might get you that last pet that can upgrade your pet to even a higher tier, a higher level that can win you the game. That's a bit of a stretch. There's a lot of chances and probability involved. But then when you look at things like a skunk, having a 33% reduction is always a guaranteed change, right, in terms of your winning odds. But whereas this goal is a bit far-fetched. So yeah, it's went down to tier D. Not that great. I think it's kind of the worst. I wouldn't pick it anymore. Then we have Leopard. So Leopard, I know Leopard is cool and all, and if you have played the game long enough, you have seen some crazy Tiger Leopard build where they can just eradicate your entire team. But this really requires a lot of setup. There's a lot of conditions involved. There's something about tier 6 pet that requires so much conditions. Firstly, it has to have high attack, right? Because its effect is is marvelous, it's amazing. 50% of, you're dealing 50% snipe damage of your attack. But let's be honest here, it comes in at 10 damage, and it requires you to have an existing system to buff your unit, right? Your Leopard. And then on top of that, you need to have a Tiger, or you need to get more Leopards to get this up to at least level 2 or level 3, so that it can hit like more than one unit, right? One random unit. I mean, what's the difference between this and Crocodile at level 2? I mean, you have so much time to get a level 2 Crocodile. At tier 6, you come in with a Leopard. I mean, it only hits for one. It only hits one unit, 50% damage. Can't really compare to Crocodile, right? A level 2 Crocodile, where you have so much time to get to level 2. But like, Leopard requires a lot of effort to build it up in order for you to really yield its benefit of like shooting a lot of targets. So that's why Tiger or a level 2 Leopard is necessary. Singular Leopard, not that useful, I feel. So that's the main gripe I have. And you know, all of this has like so many steps required, right? You think about all of these things that needs to be in place. And by the time you reach that stage, it's like turn 17, turn 20, and it becomes like you can't really control the environment anymore, because everybody is just maxing out their pets to 50-50, and you can't guarantee that your insane build of like throwing what 5, 6, 7, 8 snipes is guaranteed to kill your opponent, right? I mean, your opponent is at 50-50 stats, so it's fun to watch, but not that great to win games. So you have Flamingo, which is the fourth one. Flamingo, let's be honest here. How many of you played Flamingo before? I don't think anybody has done that like regularly. I think its play rate should be most likely at the bottom, because it comes in at tier 2 if I'm not wrong, and it sits at 3-1. 3-1 gets snipes. Can be trade, anything can trade with a 3-1. And when you upgrade it, it becomes like a what? 4-2-5. I mean, the fact that it has low health makes it very, very shitty, because in the early game, health is very important, because like you are able to outtrade against other people very easily. Health is like a very premium kind of thing to have. So having higher health is definitely better. That's why you see fishes doing so well, 2-3. I mean, then you have other units like a pig that's not doing that well being 3-1. And the fact that Flamingo's ability is +1/+1 for the 2 units behind Flamingo, it's not that much of a game changer, isn't it? Like level 1, level 2, level 3 is 1-1, +1/+1, +2/+2, and +3/+3. Which is, how is that impactful anyway? And it's temporary buff, you know, it's not permanent. It only happens in battle. So I don't even think I would choose this as a one-off when I have an open slot. I would rather choose any other single pet than choosing Flamingo. I'm gonna be honest about that. Maybe I'll get it and use Sleeping Pill on it to buff my units. That's the only use for it. Then the fifth one, Squirrel. Where's the freaking Squirrel? Yes, Squirrel is here. So, Squirrels, I mean, I think a lot of newbies, when they come into the game and they see Squirrels, they think, oh, that's not too bad, right? You're getting a discount for your food. And having discounts are pretty good, because you have like 10 gold, limited resources. You don't get any more than that unless you are running Swans. And having a $1 discount is really powerful, right? But that's the problem. The more you play, you realize why it's so shitty, right? Because the reason here is your Squirrel only gives discount to your food items. And your food item, it only discounts one time. So it's at the start of the turn. So what this means is that it requires a lot of condition. Again, it requires you to, in your earlier turn, roll for specific food you want, freeze them, then on the next turn, you are able to get the discount. And most importantly, food store only offer 2 items for you to buy, right? And the only relevant food you can think of is food like pear, apple, sushi, and things like garlic armor and honey. It is only useful for one-time use, right? Because it's permanent. You put it on your carry unit, then that's all. Why do you need to buy more? Like, what's the point, right? So this has very limited usage, considering that you only have 2 spots in the shop, and then there's only a few items that's relevant, which is your stat buff items. You wouldn't get extra honey, so that's a huge downside to Squirrels to begin with. You have to freeze items, you need to get the perfect item that you need that is useful for you. And then there's also a lot of chance involved that makes it pretty shitty. Maybe if it's discount for 2 gold at level 1, I might consider it, but otherwise, not that great. It might be useful if you're running like a foot build. Otherwise, it's kind of like not good. And then you have Seal. So Seal, right, seems pretty cool. Comes in at tier 5, kind of late in the game already. But I think my biggest issue with this as a buffer, like a buffing unit, is it requires you to have food item that can target at the seal. So what this means is that only pears and apples are like guaranteed to hit it, so that it can buff everybody else, right? Because its effect is whenever you buff me, like you give me food, I buff like 2 more people with +1/+1. And then you're not going to be feeding these like multiple honeys or multiple garlic armor. So pears, apples, that's all. Cow milk. Sushi if you are lucky enough to hit it. But I think my biggest gripe with this is that it's not just the food item that we need to feed this. It is also the fact that it gives 2 random units +1/+1. And that is too much randomness for me to that I can't control, right? Because at the end of the day, all I want to do is focus on building like 1 to 2 units to make them super strong. I don't want this to be buffing like not important units at all. Units that I want to swap out, units I don't want to keep forever. So this makes it very hard to control. And when you're looking for buffers, right, you're looking for consistency, things that I can control. That's why units like monkey, penguin is much stronger. You know who will be buffed with your monkey and penguin, and at the same time, the amount of stats that they buff is way higher than a seal. Because penguin, if all of your units are level 2, you can buff like +4/+4, right? Split evenly across over every unit. Then you have monkey that's +2/+3, which is way more than a level 1 seal, which is +1/+1 2 times. Not that great, man. I mean, even a cow also do better than a seal. I mean, once you buy a cow, you have like 2 milks, right? And that makes it, to be honest, one of the worst kind of buffers that you can have. Or scaling unit. You can see that as a scaling unit as well. I think random chance is always not that great. You want to control a lot of things. You want to keep things consistent in order to win games. And then the last one is Mammoth. I think Mammoth, the reason why a lot of people don't play is, I think maybe this is just like, maybe it comes in too late in the game. I'm not too sure. I think the only reason I see this as being useful, like the few use cases, is you are using this to be peeled so that it can give everybody +2/+2 in game 310. In like on turn 10, this is not that useful, to be honest. Like 310 doesn't do much. You don't use that as your carry unit. The only real usage I would see is having a badger, then having a mammoth behind to soak up the damage. That makes a lot of sense because your creature no longer dies in vain. At least when it dies, it buffs everyone. So the only reasonable usage is this, or you peel it. These are the two scenarios. Otherwise, like +2/+2, does it change the battle that much? Not that great. Maybe you've seen like some of those meme builds with Mammoth 1-up. I guess if you have that kind of combination with Tiger support, it's useful, but overall it's like it has a very limited usefulness time span, because once you hit late game, super late game, where every unit is 50-50, right? This no longer helps, right? because stats buff is really predicated on the fact that everybody is kind of like on an equal playing field where their stats are not 50-50 yet, and then having this stats buff kind of like give you an edge over other people. But in the late game where everybody is like, where there's a lot of 50-50, then this is like essentially useless, right? Yeah. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm wrong in this. I haven't seen those gameplays. I'm not sure whether does it even buff them beyond 50-50. I'm not too sure about that, but I think overall this coming in at tier 6 is a bit weak, I feel. So that's that. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Overall, I think these are the worst pets that I'm not really a fan of. And if you have any worst pets, and if you don't think these are the worst pets, you can actually just comment down below. I mean, it's interesting to hear different opinions. So that's all, and thank you for watching. If you're interested in interesting builds, meme builds, you can actually check out the description below and my comments, where I will show you all the playlists of the builds that I've created.